Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, let's do a video on Vietnam Dong because it's been a little while. So I was cruising around checking out articles on Vietnam. There's some interesting ones that we can go over, especially this one right here, Opportunity in Place for Adventure Tourism in Vietnam. And I like where they're going with this. The dollar falls against the dong, but that's not the part that I've been eyeballing. Right over in March, Vietnam started to just slightly gain back against the US dollar, and then all of a sudden, and then once we got to May, from there, it just looked terrible for Vietnam. They just kept losing ground on US dollar. Then sometime in October, they started to regain. See this sharp drop right here? That means the Vietnam dong was recovering quickly against the US dollar. Kind of leveled off a little bit. So yeah, Vietnam's doing okay. As long as the US doesn't raise the interest rates anymore, Vietnam should be okay. So the US dollar has increased against the Vietnam dong 3.29% since the beginning of the year. We're not quite at the end. Could Vietnam make some kind of comeback between now and the end of the year? We'll see. Opportunities and challenges for Vietnam's automobile industry. The development strategy for Vietnam's automobile industry to 2035, approved by the Prime Minister on July 16th of 2014, identified this industry as an important driver of national industrialization and modernization that needs to be facilitated by stable, consistent, and long-term policies. Under this strategy, the industry is set up to develop based on the potential businesses in all economic sectors to gradually meet domestic demands and defense security requirements. By 2035, it is expected to meet domestic demands, engage a global car production chain, and post large export revenues while meeting environmental standards. Now remember, Vietnam is an exporting country. Their crap is all together. There's no sanctions on them or anything else. They have been, for the past 35 years, growing as a nation economically, becoming very strong. But they're consistent, and their currency is manipulated. And because of this, they've been able to benefit from it and create pretty large trade deficits against a lot of countries. So thanks to the clear development strategy, automobile producers and assemblers in Vietnam have initially gained a foothold on the domestic market and been developing strongly in terms of both quantity and quality. So if you come down here, you can see the numbers. The number of domestically produced and assembled vehicles has increased considerably. That's the other thing too that Vietnam's really good about. They take care of their own needs. They don't do a lot of importing. I'm not saying they don't, but I'm just saying they don't do a whole lot of it. And as a matter of fact, when it comes to the United States, some of the things that they import is mandatory because the U.S. insisted on it. So 287,586 vehicles in 2018, 339,151 in 2019, 323,892 in 20. But if you look over here for 2022, 439,600 in 2022. It's almost doubled. So good job to Vietnam. The industry in Vietnam has more than 40 businesses producing and assembling passenger cars, trucks, coaches, and special purpose vehicles and semi-finished vehicles. Some firms have actively engaged in global production chains such as THACO. So people are turning to Vietnam for not only producing but assembling vehicles. So nice. Congrats to Vietnam. That's a field we know they've been wanting to get into for a long time. I didn't even realize they had that big of a market for vehicles from Vietnam, but apparently so. Now I do like this one. Opportunities in place for adventure tourism in Vietnam. I mean, come on, look at these zip lines, kayaking, look at hiking, splunking. That's cave exploring. If you just look at these pictures, Vietnam is a very beautiful place. That's a place I'm still intending to go to. So they're really starting to make a name for themselves for tourists. Not only that, you ever go to Vietnam and go to their street food? I can't tell you how many friends of mine have been over there and talked about the food, and they always insist the one place you want to go to is over there. It's where they created a lot of street food. Oh, good Lord, now all of a sudden I can't remember the street's name. But it's one of the main streets there. I've seen videos. You can go on YouTube right now and see all kinds of videos of the different people cooking food on the street. I mean, that's big over there. Adventure tourism is increasingly popular in the world and attractive to those who love trying new exciting experiences. With diverse terrains, Vietnam is a haven for developing the type of tourism, but safety still needs to be given the top priority. Identified as an important type of travel, adventure tourism had a global market value of about $324.9 billion US dollars in 2022. The figure is predicted to hit $2 trillion by 2032. Well, not if you keep locking people up and trying to keep them in 15-minute cities. That's not going to happen. So yeah, I can understand why Vietnam is one of the places for adventure tourism. There are some beautiful caves there. As a matter of fact, one of the caves, and I'm sure most of you will be familiar with this, but one of the caves has their own ecosystem. It almost looks like Center Earth. It has streams. It has its own atmosphere. It's really beautiful to check out. So Vietnam, of course, is home to many mountains, hills, caves, rivers, and springs. It boasts huge potential for adventure tourism, which also includes several subtypes such as air-based, helicopter tours, paragliding, parachuting, land-based camping, mountaineering, trekking, rope walking, and water-based kayaking, waterfall exploration, and diving. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's very beautiful there. So this is one of the things that Iraq needs to get going on, man. Do something to boost up their tourism. Iraq's one of those places I always wanted to go because of all the ancient history that's there. But yeah, see, like I said, Vietnam is way in front of where Iraq is. And behind them, way, way to back, that little tiny speck that you see, that's Zimbabwe. Okay. So a slower 2023 and uncertain 2024 for Vietnam's economy. You guys know the story in 2020 when everybody was shut down, Vietnam thrived. Their economy did very well. It could have been a lot better, but unfortunately, some countries that they had to ship to were shut down. So even though they had a good year, it could have been much better. 2021, they actually finally got hit with COVID because in 2020, for some reason, it escaped them. But they had a COVID breakout in 2021 for the first half of the year, but a strong second half of the year for Vietnam. It says after 2 frustrating years of COVID-induced economic slowdown, Vietnam bounced back in 2022 with a strong performance. Its GDP growth more than 8%. In 2023, the government hoped that the stronger Chinese and global economy would allow continuation of an export-led growth, including growth in tourism and related services. Projections and hopes were for a 6 to 7% GDP growth. But both the world and China proved to have less demands for Vietnam exports than hoped. Well, you could thank Biden for that because he's China controlled. So yeah, this is expected. Now, once he's out of office, this is going to change, in my opinion. Now, even Vietnam's prime minister is suggesting growth of around 5%, which is closer to the 4.7% estimated for 2023 by the IMF. You know, that's still good growth, 5%. That's no small potatoes. Most people are just happy if they can get up there around 3%. So through November of 2023, tourism revenues increased 50%. But this was not enough to offset the weakness in industrial output growth, which was only 1%, while external factors significantly contributed to a slower growth. The problems with the electricity supply also contributed to the slow growth in foreign direct investment realizations. These realizations only grew 2.9% in dollar terms, probably a slight shrinkage in real terms. That's because there's so much uncertainty going on around the world. People are starting to stand up against their governments, trying to make sure they get the right people in office. Hopefully that's happening for them. Things should be turning around. There's people out there actually fighting against this globalist movement. They're not there 100%. Everybody's eyeballing the United States. Everybody knows that whoever grabs control of this country controls the world. And if these World Economic Forum people want to create a NWO, they have to have the United States. That's why you're seeing them just crap all over Trump's constitutional rights to do anything to him, remove him from being a candidate for presidency. I don't think it's going to work. Hopefully the Supreme Court does the right thing, but we have no idea how many people are absolutely compromised. We're going to find out here real soon. Like I said, Trump gets in there, then it's over. There's going to be a lot of other countries following his step because there's no way in hell Trump's going to let us go down that path. So things still looking pretty decent for Vietnam. Congrats to them. But like I stated before, they are a export country. They're not too thrilled about doing anything to increase the value of their currency. Most of the politicians in Vietnam, they get paid in US dollars and then turn around and buy a ton of Vietnam dong. So there's no way in heck they want to change it, because this is how they stay rich. This is how they live the rich life, is doing that very thing, getting paid in US dollars and then buying a Vietnam dong with them at an extremely cheap price, allowing them to live the life of luxury. An export country they are, unlike Iraq, who is going to be an import country. So there's an incentive for them to want to increase the value of the Iraqi dinar. Anyways, that's it for now. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. I'll catch you later. I am out.